checking into this episode. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. Today, the great Anna Almeida joins me. How are you, Anna?
I'm great. Thank you. How about you?
Very good. Thank you. I got a lot to talk to you about. But before we get to that, I want to let everybody know there are some things coming up at the end of this pod that are going to be solo Scott. I'm going to analyze a couple of Doug Ford media avails. So that's coming up at the end. I also want to talk about what's happening between Israel, Iran, and America. Is there going to be a war? Because I was initially told Thursday is the day the U.S. was ready to attack.
Oh my gosh, that's now. Okay. Yeah, terrifying.
Right. But I don't know if we're going to get this thing. I mean, you know what they say about Trump, right? They call him Taco.
Yeah.
Taco Trump.
Yeah.
Trump always chickens out.
Yeah.
Is he going to chicken out here? Is he going to get involved? Or is this all a great big negotiation tactic with Iran? All of that and more coming up in this episode. Before I get to that, though, let's tie up a couple of loose ends. Yesterday's pod broke a record for downloads in a single day.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Scott. I didn't know that.
Single day downloads. It was a record yesterday for that update on Silent Date guy. A lot of people are messaging me trying to guess the celebrity. Guys, I'm telling you, I swore I wouldn't say who it was. I can't do it. I can't violate that trust until he tells me I can go ahead and do it.
Well, Silent Date Guy, if you're listening,
He is.
please, we need to know. And people are asking me, and then they question, are you telling the truth? You really actually don't know? Scott, can you tell people?
Anna has no idea. I've intentionally not told her a lot of details of this story just because I don't want you to have that massive responsibility.
Thank you.
And if the secret gets out, I don't want to have to blame you for leaking it. So here we are.
Yes. Okay. That's fair, because it would be hard to keep it a secret for sure, especially when people hound you as much. But congratulations. That's an awesome record.
Thank you. I'm real excited. The pod is doing so well. And, you know, we talked about it briefly yesterday. I don't know if it was on the radio or on the pod. I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that have switched to podcasts for getting their news is incredible. And I think that's exactly because the legacy media just refuses to simply report the news. They just can't do it without being biased or being slanted in some way. Let me give you a quick example.
Please.
The headlines all day yesterday in my feed. Fruitful G7 conference for Mark Carney. Mark Carney comes out of the G7 smelling like roses. Nothing but praise for Mark Carney in the G7. I don't understand how anybody could logically come to that conclusion when we have $5 billion less now than we did before it started, and there's still no deal with the Americans to get rid of the tariffs. This wasn't a success. I'm not going to say it was a failure, but it wasn't a success. But the media is painting it out to be, this was great. This was Prime Minister Carney doing exactly what he promised he would do. He capitulated to Donald Trump. That wasn't a success. People who voted for Mark Carney thinking Mark Carney was the Trump slayer have to be embarrassed that they thought that now after the G7.
I got to tell you, I was hoping he was going to be the Trump slayer because I'm not a fan of Trump. I will openly admit that. But I don't think that it should be the headline that I saw everywhere as well. G7 success thanks to Carney. And it's just like, what really got done that we needed to get done.
You know what else bugs me about this is Prime Minister Carney said, we're going to make another big donation to Ukraine. We're going to give him a loan and we're going to give him a whole bunch of money. But don't worry, Canada, it's going to come from frozen Russian assets. Okay, I'd like to know more about the frozen Russian assets because I've heard a lot about these. Trudeau used to dip into that slush fund all the time. Simple set of questions. If we have all these frozen Russian assets, where's the accounting? How much do we have? How much is left? And when we give Ukraine money out of these frozen Russian assets, do we write a check out of that bank account? Is there an account for the frozen Russian assets? Or do we write an account from the Treasury and that account reimburses the Treasury? Somebody just tell me how it works and how much money we froze from Russia. Is it all liquid? Or do we have to sell things off to get that money? Like that plane that's parked at Pearson Airport. Okay, I guess that's a frozen Russian asset.
Yeah.
Who's going to buy that? Maybe we can say it's worth $20 million, but we have to sell it and no one's going to buy it. So we don't have liquid frozen Russian assets. And if we do have any frozen Russian assets, just give it all to Ukraine. It's not our money. What are we waiting for? Just give it to them. But you know,
is it on our website? Does that sound familiar?
Well,
I don't have the answer.
you know, it's funny because I put this out there on social yesterday. I'm like, where are these frozen Russian assets?
Yeah.
Are they being held in a bank account? How much is in the account? How much have we spent? How much is left? Somebody should surely be able to answer that question. It's not a national secret. So where's the money? And it's amazing how many people responded to my tweet or X or whatever we call them now, saying things like, you're just being ridiculous. It just comes from the frozen Russian assets. Has nobody thought to ask questions about these frozen Russian assets? Like, nobody's wondering. You just take the word for it of this government, which has a track record of lying to us.
They just don't want to ask, because if you ask, you still won't get the answer. But sometimes if you get an answer, it's not the answer you're looking for. So you might as well. And I'm only speaking for others. For myself, they're probably just thinking, hey, c'est la vie. Let's just hope for the best. The best, we're in a recession. This is not the best. We are struggling. I don't want to see money leaving our borders to help somebody else when we need the help ourselves.
I know that people feel differently about Ukraine.
Of course.
Some people feel this is a very worthy cause. Some people feel this is a money laundering operation. However you feel about it is pretty irrelevant, because the fact that matters is we can't afford it. If this is coming from taxpayer money, we can't be sending it anywhere until we solve our healthcare crisis, until we've got hospitals adequately staffed, until we don't have lineups in food banks, and until some of the programs that Canadians were promised and voted for are actually in place.
Yep.
Where's the school nutrition program? I personally think that's a wonderful program, because I know, because of my girlfriend and what she does, I know how many kids go to school hungry.
Yes.
Where is that program? Is it rolled out nationally now? We don't need to spend any more money on it. We can just give whatever's left to Ukraine. It doesn't make any sense to me. And again, that's not taking a side one way or the other on the worthiness of Ukraine. It's simply a matter of dollars and cents. If this is coming from frozen Russian assets, show us the accounting. If you can't do that, then it means it's coming from taxpayer dollars, as I strongly suspect. And if it is, we can't afford that. We just can't afford it.
Bottom line.
Some people would say we can't afford to not do that. No, we absolutely can. We can afford to not do that.
Yeah.
In fact, we just don't have any money. And I don't understand what people don't understand about that. We're broke.
And we are broke.
The country
Broke.
is broker than you are.
Yeah.
How about that?
It's overwhelming. You know, I get it. They want to help, and everybody deserves a helping hand. But we need that helping hand here at home so we can live like we're supposed to.
Well, we pay all this money in taxes and we're not getting a good service for it. And people have had enough. If we did an actual unbiased survey, I'll bet you would be in the 70 percentile that would probably say no more money for Ukraine. No more taxpayer money for Ukraine.
Yeah.
We just can't anymore. Are we still giving them all of our military's equipment and munitions? Because maybe we shouldn't be doing that either. It looks like there's about to be a world war.
Oh, it's scary. That's so scary. And you're going to be touching on all that later in your pod. And I'll be intently listening because it's a fear of mine. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you. I think there's 4 things I want to talk to you about today, Anna.
All right.
Let's have a little bit of fun here.
Okay, let's do it.
First off, today I'm going to go and see your guy.
Yeah, laser away ink. It's I'm getting a tattoo removed, so I'm 6 sessions in.
I think this is something that a lot of people are interested in, because a lot of people have gotten tattoos over the years. And despite what they told you when you got the tattoo, that this is permanent, it's actually not permanent, because lasers can, for the most part, get rid of most tattoos. You're getting rid of one on your rib cage.
Yeah,
because I know that's the first question.
Yeah,
Where's the
where
tattoo?
is it?
What is the tattoo?
Exactly.
Can I see it?
It's not an ex-boyfriend's name, because I've gotten that too. It's nothing. It was a wonderful quote about mental health, which I love the quote. It says, "I restore myself when I'm alone." So why am I getting?
Where's that quote from?
It's a Marilyn Monroe quote. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And say it again.
I restore myself when I'm alone. So it's basically at the end of the day, you're putting the pieces back together. You know, it's only you. You can restore yourself.
And every day you can reset.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's great.
So I got it close to my heart on my rib cage on my left-hand side. So I love the quote. I just don't love how it looks now. The ink, I got it about almost 20 years ago. The ink has bled, so you can't read it. Do you know, it was so small and thick, the lettering, that now as time has gone on, the ink has spread. So it just looks like a blob. Like I got a blob on my left hip gauge.
But a lot of people have done that. I mean, body types change.
Yeah.
And the tattoo was very much intended for the size that it was on when you got it.
Yeah.
And if you get bigger or smaller, that changes the contour of the tattoo.
Everything.
So whether it's just a choice that you regret or it doesn't look right anymore, people would like to get rid of some tattoos. So what I've done is I get a lot of ads for this in my Instagram.
Yeah.
And I've responded to a few of them, and I've even gone for a couple of consultations and estimates and stuff like that.
Wow.
I got to tell you, the people that do this are batshit crazy. The amount of money they're charging to remove a tattoo, it's way, way, way more than the actual tattoo cost. And it's a laser. Like this laser can do laser hair removal. It can do any number of different things.
And it's fast.
But for whatever reason, when it comes to tattoo removal, they charge a fortune. I'll give you one example. I went to a place in Burlington that does tattoo removal. I went for the consultation. And I said, okay, how much? And he would only give me a package price for 10 different ones. And I said, well, what if it doesn't take 10? What if it goes away in 3 or 4? And he said, yeah, just buy the 10 package. It's better. And I'm like, okay, well, humor me. Tell me how much per session. If I just want to go per session, and I think it's going to take like maybe 5, 6 sessions, not 10. So tell me how much there and let me do the math. $300 a session.
Get out of here. That's
what
outrageous.
he told me, because they really want you to book the 10 package session. And it's BS.
Okay, it's not that expensive at Laser Away, I gotta tell you. And he doesn't do, like, you could get a package, but he's not pushing the package on you because, like you, he knows that some will, lighten faster and some will take a little longer. And you just kind of go as you kind of do it as you go. So what you need, which is nice. Like mine is 10. And I think I might need 11, but 10 I think is the sweet spot because it's lightened a lot actually. I've showed you the before and after pics. Mm-hmm. And now ask me the other question that people always want to know.
Does it hurt?
Does it hurt? It hurts a little bit. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Sometimes it's a little spicy in some areas if the ink is really deep in the skin. But if you've gotten hair removal, like if you've been waxed, ladies, if you've been waxed downstairs.
You can say gentlemen too. I've been waxed and sugared.
Oh, damn. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I appreciate you taking care of yourself.
I don't like body hair. If I could get rid of it all permanently, I would. If you could just walk into like a special laser shower and just get rid of all the hair, I would do it from the neck down.
All right. I would do it too. Okay. We need to figure out who does this. So yeah, if you can get all that, Scott, this is nothing. Huh. I'm telling you, actually getting the tattoo hurt more than the removal. And it's faster. It's one pass at it. They put a cold air on you. They freeze that spot essentially. And then they go in with the laser or on the lettering or whatever you have. And then you're done.
Love it.
Done. Boom, boom, boom.
And you can only go I think it's every 4 to 6 weeks, right?
Yeah, I would say about 6 weeks because you need your skin to heal, right? Because I don't want to say it wrong. It's not like it's burnt, but it's removing. It's sore. Your skin is healing. And then after you go in, you just don't want to do it over the summer because of sun exposure. Well, I'll be out in a bathing suit. I'll
be honest with you. Here's the thing. When you think of it like that, if it takes up to 10 treatments or roughly 10 treatments, and it's 6 weeks in between treatments, you can't just decide today you want this tattoo gone before you go on vacation in August or something like that.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
It takes a while to do this.
But it's so worth it. So I first went in with the idea I'm going to get it done twice. I'm going to get a tattoo over it. But then I noticed how much of the ink was actually coming off. And I thought, wow, I could actually have my skin back and no tattoo at all. And now I'm just curious. I really want to see this process through, how many passes it will take. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm really happy with the results right now. I recommend it to anybody. If you honestly have gotten even your eyebrows tattooed and you don't like the way that they look because shapes change, people are getting their lips tattooed. They want that removed.
Remarkable to me.
Isn't it though?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I understand what women go through when it comes to beauty and things like that. I'm not. But I mean, I've had the exact same eyebrows since I was born and they look great. I've never done a thing to my lips and they seem fine, but I know that girls are conscious of this stuff.
Well, for sure. I mean, I went through the early 2000s when everybody had no eyebrows and then they grew in and some spots don't grow in. So people get it tattooed.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. But the ink doesn't go and doesn't turn out as nice as some others. So anyways, people have gotten that removed. And it does not hurt as much as it getting it done, in my personal opinion.
Okay. Give him a plug. It's the podcast. Let's plug him.
Oh, okay. His name is Lee Gagnon, and he works at Laser Away Inc. in Cambridge on Main Street. Highly recommend. And he's so personable. You'll make a new friend out of him.
So you can Google it if you want.
Oh, yeah. And he's on Instagram. He posts a lot of before and after pictures. People have actually traveled. Last week, he had somebody, because I have him on Instagram, from the UK just to get him to do the removal.
Wow.
The UK.
Well, it's nice that he's local then.
Yeah.
Okay. Laser Away Inc. in Cambridge. It is on Main Street. Go and see Lee.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lee. And you're thinking about going.
I'm going today.
You're going to go?
Yeah, I want to see what it's all about.
Oh, my gosh. Do you need me to hold your hand?
No,
I mean, you've done sugaring, so you're good.
The sugaring, that
hurts
sucked.
more.
Yeah. She did my chest.
Oh,
It sucked.
Even the nips?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's where the hair grows.
Oh,
So.
I know. But when you hear it, ow.
Okay, let's get to some content
Sure,
here.
please.
7-month study commissioned by CAA, the Canadian Automobile Association. They did 20 intersections across Canada for 7 months. 600,000 near misses. When you extrapolate those numbers and average it out across the number of intersections across Canada, it works out to an average of 3 serious incidents, like near misses, at every intersection every day.
That's way too much. That is a scary number.
This is a danger to pedestrians and to cyclists. AI technology and cameras were used to analyze these intersections in real time, and that's what the study found. More than half, 55% of pedestrians and 50% of cyclists had a close call with a vehicle. More than a third, almost 35% of pedestrians, 36% of cyclists were involved in a conflict with a left-turning vehicle.
Wow.
But left isn't the biggest problem. It's right. Right-turning vehicles had the most near misses out of anything. So they decided to come up with some recommendations. How can we make intersections safer? Everybody just try and picture an intersection. You're pulling up, you got to turn right, or you've got to turn left. If you're turning left, hopefully there's an advanced green. If there's an advanced green, it certainly makes things a lot more easy, because when you're turning left, there shouldn't be pedestrians walking into the path of your turn.
Let's hope.
But when you're turning right, that's a little more tricky, because not everybody sees the blind spot and not everybody sees a cyclist, or even worse, some kid on a scooter coming up doing 30, 40 kilometers an hour. Those scooters are quick.
They're
I know.
so
I have
fast.
one. I love it though, Anna. Oh my God, I love that
fine,
scooter.
but they come out of nowhere, and that's the scary thing, because I, as much as I think I've looked over my shoulder in my blind spot, they pop up.
So what CAA says we should do here is there should be separate right turn lanes. I mean, if we want to build them going forward, that's one thing, but it would be way, way, way too hard and expensive to convert every intersection to have a right turn lane. Not every intersection is set up for that.
No, it's too small. Most intersections, that, like you said, they're not designed for it, and I don't want to live through any more construction.
They're also suggesting that the walk signal for pedestrians comes on a little sooner than the green light for cars.
Love that. I am here for that.
I suppose as long as nobody's trying to turn right on a red light, that would probably work. But we all know there's people that are trying to turn right. A listener texted into our radio show today when we talked about this and suggested that maybe there should be no right-hand turns on red lights.
Yeah, maybe, but that's a difficult one, because we're all in a hurry. We got places to be, people to see, but at the same time, I mean, do we have to rush that much?
You know what? I mean, I want everybody to be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also want everybody to do their part. And I think it's just as much a pedestrian and a cyclist and a scooter responsibility as it is for the driver. If the driver's turning right and they're allowed to turn right on a red, I think it's also up to the pedestrian to check to make sure the way is clear before they turn. Hey, if the pedestrian is in the intersection, there's no way the driver doesn't see them.
Yeah.
If everybody gets there at the same time, that's where there's some ambiguity.
But haven't you seen sometimes when you're at those lights, even if you're not the one turning, there's people on their phones. They don't even look up anymore. They just assume, I have the right of way. Some of these pedestrians, and they just keep going. And then a car is at the same time making its move, and it could have been avoided.
This is what I mean, in that everybody has got to do their part. Everybody pay attention. The other recommendation, the third of 3, is more advanced green left turn lanes. I think the left turn lane is a good idea. I wish more intersections would do it. The problem is our intersections are getting too busy. So the one that drives me bat crazy is the intersection of Appleby and Dundas in Burlington. This is a big intersection. There is 4 lanes in every direction.
Yep.
If you want to turn left, and there's 2 advanced left green lanes, sometimes you can sit there for 3 or 4 light cycles before you get through the intersection if it's rush hour. They aren't really moving traffic unless they clear the entire intersection before the light turns. And I don't think they're programmed to do that.
They're not. And it is frustrating when you sit. So what's supposed to try to help you is actually deterring people in a way.
In a way. Well, what happens is people realize if they're not going to make it through that particular left, they'll go straight.
Yep.
Then they'll turn into a gas station or into a plaza or something like that. And that slows things down just as much.
And you're not supposed to do that for safety, although I've been guilty of it, I will say. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's the flow of traffic and everybody's trying to get everywhere and we're trying to get these solutions. But at the same time, we have to do our part. Basically, if I'm out for a walk, I got to look in every which direction. Cyclists are the ones that scare me the most because they come out of nowhere and they're very fast and we're sharing the road. And I just feel like the roads are not big enough for the both of us.
I feel like I got it right here. I think we've all got to do our part. It's easy. Real easy from the cycling lobbyists to say this is a car problem.
It's not.
I don't see it as a car problem. I see it as an everybody problem.
Yeah.
And most of it is just distraction, not paying attention, or in too much of a rush. Could we go, like that listener suggested, to no right turns on red? No. I mean, that's going to slow traffic down. There is a compromise there if you want to look for one. The compromise would be no right turns on red when there's a pedestrian present, i.e., if they get there and they hit the little button, the crosswalk button, it's not going to allow you to turn right on that red until the pedestrian has cleared the intersection. I don't see what's so wrong with that.
That is common sense, though.
Oh, thank you. It's common sense isn't very common, though.
I mean, if someone's there, you're not going to turn, you know?
I might have the mood of the country wrong on a topic, so I want to ask you.
All right.
New poll is out, and the headline is more editorializing from the media. Canadians aren't interested in the privatization of Canada Post, but many say they may be open to large-scale changes at the Crown Corporation. So somebody did a survey to find out if Canadians would support privatizing this Crown Corporation that's costing us a ton of money. Mm-hmm. They're going to need another multi-billion-dollar bailout if things keep going the way they are. And we all know there's a major disconnect between the employees, the union, and the management, and the government itself. It seems extremely dysfunctional. Nobody is happy with what's happening right now. And many common sense things have been proposed. Hey, could we drop it down to once a week delivery, every other day delivery, something like that to try and redeploy the workforce and make it make sense for them and make it make sense for the people who are funding Canada Post, which inevitably will be the taxpayers at the end of the day if they need a bailout. So here's what the results of the survey said. This is an Angus Reid survey. They say, I used air quotes, 59% of Canadians are opposed to the government selling off Canada Post. I don't believe them. I don't think 6 in 10 are that opposed to this happening without even hearing a proposal.
Yeah, it seems a little much for me.
I mean, our taxes are high because we spend a lot of money. Here's a great way to not spend any money, maybe even make money selling it off. You mean to tell me you're just flat out that opposed to it without even hearing the offer? If FedEx or Purolator or UPS or someone came along and said, hey, it's costing you people over $1 billion a year. You're not happy with the service. We'll take it over. We'll run it. We'll make sure that underserved areas are served. We'll even hire all of the Canada Post employees and take all the vehicles that you guys have got off your hands. We'll take care of everything, and we'll even give you a cut of our sales. So there's no way to lose money. The only possibility is making money.
But people are opposed. Apparently.
But people are opposed.
Okay.
I don't believe them. I mean, they do these polls, just like during the election, to try and get people thinking a way that they want them to think. I don't know who commissioned this poll, but I have a feeling they have a vested interest in making sure we don't sell off Canada Post.
Well, that to me makes more sense because if you can sell it, make money, everybody's taken care of. And you're getting your mail and people are happy, what the hell's the problem? You know? Doesn't make any sense to me.
This survey Again, they say,
Air quotes.
Canadians say they would be open to large and sweeping changes at the Postal Service's operations, with 72% saying they would reduce mail delivery to 3 days a week. Who the hell did they ask?
Yeah.
I don't know a single person
I don't know either.
that couldn't live without at least 3 day a week mail. I don't know a single person.
I don't know either.
Even retirees that are waiting for actual checks, even they could do less than 3 days a week. But that, for some reason, was the number, which makes me think that there's something going on in the background and they're trying to normalize it before Canadians hear the bad news.
No, but that's the thing. We're not getting mail every single day like we used to because everything is electronic. So if you're getting a check, and I can speak for my parents, we get checks from Portugal because they work there. And it's timestamped. My parents know it's going to be once a month around this time. So they don't care. Otherwise, we're getting flyers. So to them, it would have been like, okay, if we know that we're going to get mail every Tuesday and Friday, perfect. Less trips to the mailbox, and we know what we're going to get.
I don't want mail. Nothing. I mean, I don't. Everything that I get comes electronically. Everything that I want, need, or expect.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't come if it doesn't come electronically, it comes privately. When I get a passport, it's not Canada Post delivering it.
No, it's not. Actually, you're very.
So even the government isn't using Canada Post in all cases.
Wow.
We've got a problem here. We need to fix it. I find that to be an extremely misleading poll, and I don't believe that 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 are just flat no, without even hearing the proposal.
No, that's the thing. Not even hearing the proposal, they're just like, their minds are made up just like that, and they don't want to hear anything else. To me, that's fishy. That's fishy.
It's holding us back from making progress in this country. We can't make progress if people are that committed to the past.
Yeah, and you have to be open to hearing what the future has to offer, because otherwise we're never going to advance, and we're still going to be broke, and we're still going to be without mail.
Well, the irony is, and then I'll move on after this
Please.
point. The irony here is that these same people that are opposed to selling it off, opposed to any change at all at Canada Post, they will come around. They were probably the ones who insisted that email would never take off. And look where we are. So they will come around, but it might take them a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. How many billions do you want to lose until you come to the same conclusion that everybody else has come to?
That's just it.
Stop holding us back.
Yeah. And it's
Boomers.
okay. It's okay. Get with the times. Ask questions. People will inform you. You're not dumb because you don't know. You've never had to do this before. You know?
I can only assume it's people who have never run a business before that are quite content to just continuously lose money and never want to look at how to make the business more efficient.
And we don't want that.
If you Google the term living wage fee, you're going to find dozens of articles and receipts online because they've started to get posted. The living wage fee is something new that's being added to bills at some restaurants, and it's meant to provide a living wage to the staff. Many customers who have encountered this fee are expressing frustration, feeling like it's a hidden charge. Some are calling for higher prices instead of surprise fees. Who's calling for higher prices?
Who
Just
the
piss
hell?
off.
I know.
One restaurant's receipt read, living wage fee of 18% added to each dine-in check. This fee goes directly to our staff payroll and provides a living wage to our team. If you choose to tip, tips are pooled amongst the entire team. Thank you. When they say that, I don't believe them.
No, I don't believe them either. No.
You know, when they say, oh, we have a tip pool here and all the money goes to the staff, I feel like the management is getting in on that too, or the ownership.
Yes.
And that's not right. It's for the people who are on the floor working the shift.
I like, if I give a tip, I want it to go to the person who is working hard to make sure I get the food, and they've listened to me. They've made the experience that much better, because I don't get to go out very often. So when I do, I want it to be good.
Some people are picky too. Some people want multiple rounds of water. Some people want a special kind of tea.
Yeah.
Some people want this or that. They want the napkins folded into origami.
It's wild.
I know. People have very unrealistic.
I can't go out with those people. I get embarrassed.
Some people have very unrealistic expectations, and it's wild. But let's get back to the actual point here. They're adding 18% to your bill. So you'll see, I saw one bill today. It was a Reuben sandwich for $13, by the way. Just get out of here. $13 for the Reuben without fries. It was an extra $4 for the fries. Then there was another sandwich and fries. And then right below that, an 18% living wage fee.
That's such BS to me.
The customer didn't realize it at first. They paid the bill, they left a tip, and essentially they ended up leaving way more than they had to because they didn't notice the 18% charge. In fairness, though, the 18% charge was in a box on the bottom of the receipt. It was very well declared that they charged that fee. The question, I guess, comes down to is restaurants are going to get herded into two different camps. Those who are traditional and you go in, you pay your bill, you leave a tip if you want to. That's it. Or those who are going to say tipping isn't mandatory, but we're automatically adding 18% to the charge. What do you think, Anna?
I am against this. I cannot. I'm sorry. It's already expensive to go out, and I've already predetermined how much I'm going to spend. I've looked at the menu. I've figured out how much money I need, and money's hard to come by. So all of a sudden, if I get this hidden fee, that it's 18%, and then I feel guilty not giving them an extra, tip because they worked hard for it. I don't know. It just, to me, it makes me not want to go out. When I worked retail, nobody was tipping me for helping them pick out clothes. Like, give me a break.
It is a little weird, the industries that do and don't tip. And I know that the industries who don't typically get tips have a vested interest in trying to get that industry getting tipped.
Yeah.
I understand that.
But
I have to assume, though, that if a server chooses to work at a restaurant that has a living wage fee, they know that they might get a real good hourly rate, but they're not necessarily going to get tips. I think they know that going in.
Yeah, but why is it our responsibility with this living wage? I mean, come on now. The days where you were a waitstaff because you made money via tips, not because of a living wage. And I know people work hard behind the scenes. I know that there's the chefs, this and that. But I feel like it should be the establishment's job to make sure people are paid, not mine.
The government put them in a position where they don't have to, though. That's why we had, for the longest time, minimum wage and server minimum wage. And there's a server minimum wage, which is lower because they get tips. Well, things have changed a little bit. And there's a lot of people still going out and not leaving a tip because they can't afford it. Going out is a luxury and they can't afford the tip. Servers would say if you can't afford to also leave a tip, then you shouldn't go out. You can't afford to go out.
But that's not fair.
How's that not fair?
Well, because sometimes you think you have enough for something and then there's a hidden fee and then you can't leave a tip or whatever the case may be. I want to go out but sometimes I feel like even if I leave $3, I'll be shamed. There's just like that shame component to going out and not leaving a tip. And I don't want to feel that way. I just want to go out and have fun.
But maybe you should go to a restaurant where you serve yourself then. If you want to go out, but you can't afford to leave a tip, maybe you shouldn't go to a restaurant where the server has to bring things to you.
Like, I totally get your point. I'm just trying to think of the people who want to go out but feel they can't leave the appropriate amount because it's based on what usually the tip.
The tip is usually customary is 20%.
Yeah.
The gray area here, though, and this does kind of address that, many people still don't understand you're supposed to tip on the pre-tax amount. Otherwise, you're leaving a tip on the tax.
Yeah.
So if your bill is $113, your actual bill was $100, not $113, because there's tax on the bill. You leave a tip based on the pre-tax amount. And a lot of people don't understand that. With this living wage fee, it goes up with the food and the drinks. So it goes on pre-tax. You're not paying 18% on the tax. I think that's good because there are so many people who, and I don't blame the servers for doing it if people are dumb enough to not catch it. Sorry, I shouldn't say dumb enough. Maybe people don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
If the server comes over and your bill is $113, they're going to key in $113 and here's the debit machine. You tap it, you leave a tip. Okay, whatever. You have to actually do the math to figure out how much of a tip you leave without tipping on the tax. And a lot of people don't think to do that. The preset buttons, the 15, 18 or 20%.
Yes, that's what I press.
That's on the total, not on the pre-tax amount.
Yeah.
And you're just tipping more than you should if you tip on the total.
That's me. I'm the dummy.
I always do it too.
I'm the dummy. I do that. And I think to myself, okay, so with that all this being said, should the restaurant not disclose that they've had this living wage tax so I'm not surprised? I want to be able to know that this is part of my bill. Because sometimes I don't see that stuff online.
You could read the bill. I mean, it's right on the bill.
Before. But at that point, I already ate everything. I got to pay no matter what.
I mean, there's no doubt that some
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, some restaurants might want to brag about the fact that they have a living wage fee and you don't really have to worry about tipping because it's built right in. Some people will wear that as a badge of honor. Other people are going to try and hide it because they know customers are going to be opposed to it.
Yeah.
When we put this out on our radio show today, Light 92, by the way, Southern Ontario's favorites, 92.1 FM, and Light 92 is available on the iHeartRadio app. When we put this out there, it was almost unanimous in that everybody hated this idea.
Yeah.
I don't hate the idea. I just think that people need to know up front. When you do the math, you're probably going to save money doing it this way. But then you've got to still deal with the, okay, so I paid the 18%.
Yeah.
Should I still leave a tip on top of that?
Well, that's
some
the
people
thing.
will go through that exercise.
Especially you've been sitting there for an hour, you've built a relationship with your server, you want to say thank you to them directly and want to give a tip, but you've also, paid this amount of money. I just want to know how much I need to bring with me. I'm the numbers person where I need to lay out my finances for the week and how much I'm spending on what. I don't like surprises. And that's the thing. If it surprises me at the end, I'll be very upset.
One more.
Oh,
this
goody.
This one is a serious one. It is a miracle that 3-year-old girl from Montreal is okay. And for those who haven't heard the story yet, I will tell you briefly.
Yeah.
There was a woman who just last week went to police. I can't find my daughter. I don't know what happened to my daughter. Police took her in, they questioned her, they did everything they could to try and find this little girl. They dispatched rescue teams, they had dogs, they had everything you can imagine searching for this little girl. For whatever reason, some piece of information came in and the police decided not to search where mom came to them, but to search along Highway 417 in Eastern Ontario. They found her yesterday and she's alive.
Oh, thank
and
God.
She's okay.
Thank goodness.
This is a crazy story because I know there's a lot of people who want to know, how could a mother do that? How did that little girl survive? Why would she leave this little girl on the side of the highway and then go to police in Quebec and report her daughter missing? Was she trying to get her daughter killed? What happened here? I'll read you the story as it's written from the Canadian Press, and then we'll discuss. After days of searching for a missing 3-year-old Montreal girl, a major clue has led to her being found alive in Ontario. Police in Quebec say an eyewitness sighting of Claire Bell and her mother last Sunday afternoon in the St. Albert area east of Ottawa led them to the girl. Okay, so it was a tip. Somebody recognized them. She was spotted by an OPP drone yesterday afternoon along the highway after the search area was expanded. Bell's mother, Rachel Ella Todd, has been charged with unlawful abandonment of a child. It maybe should be more. Arguably, it should be more of a charge. But what is wild about this is the police searching that area used a drone and they spotted her.
Thank goodness.
So they had to send the police out to get her. And again, this is a 3-year-old who's been outside for 3 days on the side of a highway.
Alone.
So the cops got there and they went to the little girl, and presumably they're trained to deal with these sort of things. I don't know what they said to her, but what the little girl said gutted me. Mm-hmm. She said, and she had a little lunchbox in her hands. She had food with her. And she said, "I'm here just waiting for my mom. My mom said to wait right here."
It kills me. That just kills my heart. I can't.
When you think of
Oh my gosh.
when you think of how much trust kids put in their parents,
Yes.
and then a parent completely violates that trust. And despite day and night coming and going 3 times before this little girl was found, she still had faith that her mom was coming.
Oh my gosh. It just breaks my heart.
Anna, it guts me. And I don't know how to feel about this story other than prayers work.
Yes.
God is real.
Yeah.
It is a miracle that girl is alive, because when you think about the danger on the side of a highway, the inherent danger as is, when you think about the exposure, it was very, very hot. There were some storms that rolled through.
Yep.
When you think about the wildlife, the coyotes, the bears, the stray dogs, when you think about all of the things that went wrong here or could have gone wrong, and this little girl wasn't just found, but she's okay.
It's a miracle.
It's a miracle. I mean, I
Honest to
can't
God.
think of any other way to put it.
It's a miracle.
Now, what we're going to have to contend with soon is, what do we do now? Because this little girl still loves her mom. This little girl only knows a life with her mom. but her mom abandoned her. And if we say, you know what, screw that mom, she should never have that kid back. And I know instinctively that's how a lot of people feel. But that's not how the little girl feels. The little girl doesn't necessarily see it that way. But also the little girl is a little girl and she doesn't understand
what she just went through.
What she went through and that it was completely intentional on the part of the mom.
Yep.
But kids don't have that hate. They don't have that sense of retribution. They don't hold a grudge. I don't know how you could now go to that little girl and say, hey, I know you just want to see your mom, but screw it. Your mom's going to jail. You're going to go live with a nice foster family for a while. I just don't know how I can't process that in my mind. But God, I want to hug that little girl.
Oh, I know.
I'd love to open up my own home to her.
Yes. Okay, so my feelings after hearing this story, of course, I'm like, that mom should lose rights, blah, blah, blah. How do you do this to your child? Okay, obviously, mom's going through something. There is more to this story than we know, clearly. I would say, if this is just my personal opinion, I would let mom and daughter see each other, let daughter feel comforted knowing mom's okay, everything's okay, and then split them up and say, hey, mommy has to go over here and we're going to figure things out. Let the little girl be in on the know so she's not feeling like she's been ripped apart from her mother. And then there needs to be consequences. You just don't leave your child on the side of the highway and pretend she's gone missing. That is batshit crazy. I'm sorry. I have to say it because it makes me so angry because that little girl, thanks to people, thanks to the communities working together, she was found alive. And typically, that's not the endings we're used to. I'm so happy she's okay. I'm so happy. She deserves a chance at feeling okay again because this has been a scary ordeal and I hope the mom gets the help that she needs. Dad on Instagram thanking everybody for their care, for bringing her home. I want to know more about the dad too. You know, it's just an overall wild story to me, but in the end, everybody, she's okay and that's what makes me happy.
Anna, I appreciate it. It's a tough one to end on, isn't it?
I know. My heart, I want to hug her too. I got to say, and I can just see her on the side of the highway with the police. My mommy told me she'll be right back. Like, I got to stay right here.
I know.
Oh,
right?
my gosh.
I'm just gutted last night reading that story.
And she's so cute. Oh, she's just such a cutie. So anyways, the kindness of strangers work together and she's home.
All right. Anna, thanks for your time today.
Thank you. And again, congrats on everybody who listens. You're in for some more notable information. I'm excited to listen, Scott.
It's time for Premier Doug Ford.
Okay, so first of all, Chief Nish, Chief Demkew, all the chiefs, they're absolute champions. So they do a massive bust. 500 kilos of cocaine that these drug dealers want to poison our kids, poison our people, and 500 kilos. Just imagine that. And they work with the DEA down in the U.S., Drug Enforcement Agency. They work with the Border Patrol. They work with police agencies back and forth. The OPP, Commissioner Creek, is amazing on the Joint Task Force. And guess what, guys? These weak-kneed judges, the biggest bust in Peel's history, guess where they are? They're back out on the street again. Bail. Except one person. Do you believe that? They actually get released on the largest drug bust in Peel's history. 500 kilos of cocaine that could ultimately kill people, and judges slap on the wrist. Okay, little Johnny, you go out there and deal more drugs. Why don't you give them more drugs? It's crazy. The system is broken. I will be all over the Prime Minister and the federal government have bail reform until these I don't even want to call them what I'm thinking right now. I better hold off. But these people that are terrorizing our neighborhoods and feeding drugs to our people, that's number one. They need to change the criminal code. They need to change bail reform. I will be all over him until this gets done. Stop the dilly-dallying around. 10 years we've seen. We're going to do it. We aren't going to do it. Prime Minister gave me his word. He's going to change it. It has to be done. And then, bingo, you hear of another big bust yesterday. What is there, 15 of them? And by the way, I remember saying that the chief is a champ. Chief Nish is a champ. All our police are champions. Well, guess what? They get busted. These are the ones that are, the whole tow truck group and the other guys that are trying to intimidate and extort people. So they call people up and say, pay up or we're going to shoot up your house. Guess what? They go by and start shooting up the house. But guess what, folks? those nice, kind judges, they let them all out on bail. Oh, by the way, they're already out on bail or probation. What is the city coming to, not the city, but our country coming to, when these criminals are running amok and terrorizing our neighborhoods? It's disgusting. Something has to change.
I'm going to pause Premier Doug Ford right there. Love the passion. Love the passion. Premier Ford has had enough of these thugs and our catch and release bail system. I have too. Every single person listening to this pod, I think, has had enough. Every single person listening right now, I think, has heard enough stories about criminals committing very serious, violent crimes and getting a slap on the wrist and getting bail the same day, being disrespectful and rude to the cops as they're being arrested, because the cop won't even be done the paperwork from the arrest before these guys are back on the street. Everybody realizes there's a problem here. But there's two elephants in the room. Two of them. Number one, Doug Ford can keep saying, I'll be all over the prime minister. I'll be all over the prime minister. But the prime minister isn't changing his mind. So far, nothing has happened, and he's had ample opportunity. Prime Minister Carney has had a chance to fix this. He's appointed what I think is a fairly radical justice minister who I don't think is going to change the law voluntarily. And it doesn't seem like there's any political will by Prime Minister Carney to make a change. For whatever reason, I don't get it. I don't understand what the left is thinking sometimes, but they seem to think this catch and release system is good. In reality, it's unfair and unjust to the victims of crime. It disproportionately affects the victims. It's not fair. It doesn't create a safe society. It sends a message that it's okay to commit crime because there's no punishment, particularly amongst young people who get even less because they're covered under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. We know that this is an issue. Doug Ford says he's going to be all over the prime minister. He's said it a number of times, but so far nothing is changing. When is the premier going to break this pact, this little love-in that he's got going with Prime Minister Carney, and really aggressively lobby the prime minister for this? I want Doug Ford, in the same way Pierre Poilievre used to do it, I want Doug Ford to challenge the prime minister on the bail laws. If the prime minister isn't going to change this voluntarily, let the will of the premiers be heard. And Doug Ford, I know Danielle Smith would agree with this. I know there's a lot of premiers that would agree that we need to toughen up our laws. The other elephant in the room is Doug Ford himself. The problem here is crime. The solution we all had in front of us 6 weeks ago was electing a conservative government. Pierre Poilievre had a plan to do this. This was going to be one of those day one initiatives. We could have been there already. This could have been done. The problem could have been solved. But Doug wouldn't support Pierre Poilievre. He supported Mark Carney. Now, Mark Carney seems to be doubling down on this catch and release, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why Doug supported the prime minister when what he himself says he wants is what Pierre Poilievre promised to deliver. And I believe Pierre would have done that. I think it would have been done by now had we voted conservative. So I don't quite understand where the premier is coming on that one, because he had a chance to make this change, and he decided to support Carney as prime minister and not support Poilievre. So he's, in a way, he's kind of part of the problem here, if you want to see it that way. Let's play the rest of Premier Doug Ford talking now about the stand your ground or castle laws.
And the last one. Did you hear about the guy that these thugs came up, ready to steal his car? They're all in their masks and everything. So I guess he was a hunter or something. He shot up in the air. I don't recommend that, by the way. But he gets charged. I got to find out this guy's name and number, and I'm going to hold a fundraiser for lawyer fees for him. He should get a medal for standing up. It's like down in the U.S., we should have the castle law. Someone breaks into your house, and I know any of these people here, someone breaks into your house, and they're coming after your kids, and you're coming after your spouse, you're going to fight like you've never fought before. You're going to use anything that you have, be it weapons, baseball bats, knives. You're protecting your family. These thugs shouldn't be coming in there. Now, I'm going to tell you a story. Probably get in trouble for this.
I'll leave it there because he's going to go on and tell the story about how someone tried to steal his car, or actually his brother's car, out of his driveway. That's a crazy story, too. I don't understand that one. Out of all of the driveways in Etobicoke, these four idiots decided to rob the one that belongs to the Premier of Ontario. You dummies that tried to steal cars in that Etobicoke neighborhood not only hit the wrong house, you hit a house that had an OPP security detail parked out front. How stupid are you? I hope they got caught. Actually, they did get caught. I think we should throw them in jail just for being complete morons. As far as being a thief goes, that's completely reckless. You're a bad car thief if you tried to jack a car at a Premier Ford's driveway in front of the OPP. You moron. But anyway, back to the point. Castle law. If you Google castle doctrine, you'll also get the details on a castle law. You could also look at what the state of Florida has put in place called Stand Your Ground. Friends, it's very, very simple. If someone breaks into your house or if they come onto your property and they are trying to hurt you, your family, or your property, or they're trying to steal it, whatever, you have the right to defend yourself how you see fit. Right now, someone who is at home, asleep in their bed, and then bam, the front door gets kicked down. Well, maybe that person who owns the home, who was asleep in bed, hears that door gets kicked down, and they happen to be a hunter. Maybe they grab their shotgun real quick. Maybe they see these thugs coming up the stairs toward their bedroom, and they figure, not today. And they fire off a couple shots. They're going to get charged. It'll either be manslaughter, second-degree murder. I doubt it'll be first degree, but they're going to get charged for killing that person or people. Could be multiple. Nobody seems to take into account the criminal came into their house. The criminal was threatening them, and they don't even have to physically threaten them or verbally threaten them. Someone just has to feel threatened for them to be able to induce or go ahead and assert their rights under the castle law or the stand your ground law. You can defend yourself, your family, and your property as you see fit. I think the vast majority of Canadians are in favor of this as long as there's proper training and as long as there's reasonable common sense restrictions. If someone breaks into your house, I think all bets are off. If you have a gun, I think you should be allowed to shoot them. No ifs, ands, or buts, no exceptions. It's a little bit different if somebody's stealing your car. Cars can be replaced. We have insurance for a reason. Okay. Is it ideal? No, of course not. Nobody wants their car stolen, but that isn't necessarily posing a direct threat to your safety. Maybe that's where we draw the line. This guy north of Toronto that fired a warning shot, it wasn't up in the air. He shot out the back window of the getaway car. All right, well, that's a pretty aggressive thing. Somebody could have gotten hurt. I don't want to see bullets flying through neighborhoods, but I don't blame the homeowner who fired the shot. I blame the idiots who tried to steal the car. We can't be in a situation where people are afraid to call 911 or they know that if they do phone 911, it's going to take a while. Sometimes it does. Wait times, especially in big cities like Toronto, in overnight hours, prime time hours, on weekends and such, they're busy. They're not coming very quickly. So if you're in a life or death situation, wouldn't it be nice to know that if you decide to defend yourself, your family, or your property, you're not going to be up on murder charges. You're not going to be facing aggravated assault charges. I mean, the irony here is these people that are going to break into your home for whatever reason, they're going to get punished if they get caught, but it's not going to be much. You, the person who defended yourself, are actually going to face much more tangible consequences. And that's not right. People have had enough. They want their lives back. We want safe streets again. This shouldn't be ambiguous. We all agree we want safe streets. Premier Ford is calling for it, and he's quite right to do so. We need a castle law or a stand your ground law in Ontario. It needs to go right in the law that if somebody is trying to harm you, your family, or your property, you have a right to defend yourself as you see fit. And I'm not opposed to some common sense restrictions. Maybe they say you're allowed to defend yourself, but you're not allowed to use a gun. I don't know. I think the gun's a good deterrent. If I were a thief and I knew a house had guns, I don't think I'd break into that. I just don't think I would do that. I think that's stupid. I think if I were a thief and I was worried about getting shot, I'd be very choosy about which homes I break into. If you know there's a chance that somebody on the other side of that door is packing a shotgun, you're probably not going to break in. Maybe that's a deterrent. Maybe that'll help bring down some of the crime. Listen, We need to feel safe. That is the number one responsibility of our government. Protect the people. If the government can't or won't, if the police can't or won't, then it's got to be up to the people. But they've got to have that reassurance, that peace of mind that if they do what they have to do to protect themselves, their family, or their property, they're not going to end up in jail themselves with a lifelong criminal record that prevents them from crossing the border, and so on and so forth. It's backwards when we're prioritizing the rights and needs of criminals instead of regular people. Friends, I'm going to move on. There's a couple other things I want to try and squeak into this episode, and I'm at time already. I want to play for you a brief exchange that happened here in the House of Commons. This is a Liberal member of Parliament. I believe it's Nate Erskine-Smith. Listen to this, please. The other day I played for you Elizabeth May, someone on the far left who is highly critical of the way the government is trying to ram through Bill C-5. Even if you don't like Elizabeth May, please listen to this Liberal member of Parliament. This happened on Tuesday.
First, we should welcome greater parliamentary and civil society scrutiny. The government's proposed guillotine motion seeks to limit parliamentary debate at every stage of the bill. More concerning, it will jam all expert and public testimony and all committee scrutiny in less than 2 days. For what? Consider that Parliament isn't currently scheduled to sit between June 20th and September 15th. We are rushing legislation through Parliament under the auspices of an urgent threat, but we aren't willing to put Parliament to work for what, an additional week to get things right? The debate on amendments does not need to be rushed. We could easily extend committee hearings by an additional week, provide resources for the committee to sit every day, and engage in a more thoughtful process to hear from experts, improve the bill, and pass it through the House by Canada Day.
That's the kind of integrity that I would like to see from members of the government. Members of the government who are not afraid to be critical of something that they know is wrong. And it is wrong. We need to have a proper debate. The government is proposing a law here that'll allow them as a cabinet, not even the House of Commons, cabinet will decide which projects are of national interest. And if there happens to be opposition to those, the government can exempt from any federal law they want. If there's some environmental regulation that's preventing a high-speed rail line from being built, they can just exempt it from that environmental regulation. And people don't like that. People want things done faster. They don't want steps skipped. If environmental assessments are important, and I think most people agree they are, then we have to go through the environmental assessment. And nobody should be making that decision until we have all of the information. Ramming through this bill that gives the government power to pick a project and then exempt it from federal laws, any one they want, is wrong. We need to have a debate on this. One more that I want to play. It might even be more, actually. What's happening over in Iran and Israel is very, very scary. It looks like the U.S. is going to get involved, but I don't know if the U.S. is going to get involved. This could just be posturing on the part of Donald Trump. He could be trying to force Iran to make a deal. He says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and if they don't agree to an unconditional ceasefire, then the U.S. is going to start bombing. Well, actually, I don't even think he said the U.S. is going to start bombing, but he's certainly got a lot of firepower over there in the Middle East. Let's listen to a little bit of the president yesterday at the White House.
About whether you are moving closer or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this. That,
no kidding.
Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you got to do something. You got to negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that. And they got hit. Remember 60 days? And then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit, that first hit. That was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night, yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Really, nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you, Mr. President?
It was him taking a veiled shot at Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve in America. And that's fine. He's an idiot, too. Okay, listen. The president is being very coy about what his plans are. There's a couple of different balls up in the air here when it comes to Iran, Israel, and America. At this point, Israel is bombing Iran. Iran is responding. They're bombing Israel to various degrees of success. A lot of missiles are getting shot down. It doesn't, I don't know how much damage is being done on the ground in Israel or in Iran, to be perfectly honest with you. The president holds a lot of cards here. Israel seems to want America to get involved, if for no other reason than America has a specific bomb that could be dropped on an underground Iranian nuclear facility, and this bomb can get down like 200 feet into the ground and then explode. The Israelis seem to think that if they had the U.S. drop that bomb, it would basically take out the Iranian nuclear capabilities. I don't think Trump wants to do it. I really don't. There's a couple of schools of thought on this, and conservatives are divided. Conservatives are divided. I don't want to see the U.S. attack Iran. I want peace. And you know what? If there can't be peace, so be it. That's a tragedy, but I don't want to get involved. No more wars. I am old enough to remember Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, and more of the endless wars that the U.S. has fought. And frankly, I think it's not in their best interest to go down that road again. I think it's silly, if you ask me. Stay out of it. If this is between Israel and Iran, it's between Israel and Iran. The U.S. does not need to send U.S. armed forces over there and put them in harm's way over this. They just don't need to do it, in my estimation. But I also understand there are those who feel very passionately that Iran can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. So what I want to play for you is just a little bit of an exchange on a fellow podcaster's podcast, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson had U.S. Senator Ted Cruz on. These are two prominent conservatives that do not agree on this issue of Iran. Listen to I'll play about a minute and a half of this.
This is the most powerful country in the world. If you're calling for toppling in government, it's incumbent on you to know something about the country and to think through the consequences of that. And you haven't, and you don't. And I'm saying that's reckless.
I haven't thought, okay, you engage in reckless rhetoric with no facts. And to be clear,
I'm not calling for the overthrow of a government. You
put out a newsletter attacking Donald Trump and calling him complicit.
Never attacked Donald Trump.
Yes, you have. And by the way,
I campaigned for Donald Trump.
Okay, yes.
And this is after anti-Semitism, this is the last refuge. You're an anti-Semite and you hate Trump.
Okay,
I love Trump.
I will read. You put out a whole newsletter saying Trump has abandoned America first. And here's what Trump said in response. Well, considering that I'm the one that developed America first and considering that the term wasn't used until I came along, I think I'm the one who decides that. For those people who say they want peace, you can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. So for all of those wonderful people who don't want to do anything about Iran having a nuclear weapon, that's not peace. That was directed at you.
Man, you got me. Busted.
No, I'm just saying.
Look, my views, look, I like Trump. I campaigned for Trump. I know Trump. I talked to him last night. I'm not against Trump, and you know that.
But you're against his foreign policy.
I think that we should be very careful about entering into more foreign wars that don't help us when our country is dying.
When you say
and our
don't
country
help
is
us,
dying.
Look, yes, focus on our country. I'm all for it. But the naivete.
You don't even know how much money this costs.
Hey,
you don't know anything about the country whose government you want to overthrow, and you're calling me reckless.
I want to stop a lunatic who wants to murder us from getting nuclear weapons that could kill millions of Americans.
Fair.
You say, I can't see how that benefits America in any way. That is bizarre. And by the way,
bizarre.
Isolationism, your foreign policy is the foreign policy.
Hey, it's an interesting exchange. If you want to hear all of it, it gives you a very interesting perspective from both sides, but from a conservative angle. Those are two prominent conservatives that are debating whether or not the U.S. should get involved in Iran. And frankly, at the moment, until I see some compelling evidence otherwise, I side with Tucker Carlson on this one. I do not think Americans should get involved in this. I really don't. That brings me to my last point. It is a listener DM. Tomorrow is a listener DM's episode, and you're welcome to send those in to me at Scott Fox On Air. Let me read you one that came in today because I think it's important. Hey, Scott, good morning. Will you be discussing all this war stuff today? Why is Israel acting like Iran started first when Israel attacked Iran first and they're just defending themselves? Also, they keep saying Iran may one day have nuclear weapons. Sounds a lot like what they said about Iraq, which proved to be false. So many questions, and we can't trust the media to tell the truth. I believe that was Melissa that sent that in. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Here's the way I understand this situation. Question 1. Why is Israel acting like Iran started first when Israel attacked them first? In this particular conflict, yes, the Israelis dropped bombs on the Iranians first. The Iranians responded by sending more bombs and missiles back at Israel. This has been going for a very, very, very long time, like decades. The Iranians, it's generally understood, have been attacking Israel regularly. But they do it through proxies. They do it through terrorist organizations like the Houthis. They do it through terrorist organizations like Hamas. They do it through terrorist organizations like Hezbollah. They fund them, they give them the materials they need, and then they let those guys go in and do the dirty work in Israel so that it's not officially Iran versus Israel. That's the way Israelis see this, is they've been getting attacked nonstop for years, and that's why they finally had to step in, because they know through intelligence reports that Iran is close to getting a bomb. I know that it is kind of hearsay that Iran is close to having a bomb. I don't know this firsthand, but there's apparently good intelligence this time, good intelligence that says Iran is very close. Like within weeks or days, they may be able to produce as many as 2 nuclear warheads. Once they have 2, they can build on their stockpile from there. In the grand scheme of things, no, it's not a lot of nukes, but there's still a lot of people who agree Iran and that regime there should not have nuclear weapons. There's what's the best way to put this? Cooler heads need to prevail. They really do. And if Iran is making nuclear weapons, and if the Israelis have already been told that they're target number 1 for those nuclear weapons, then I don't blame Israel for defending itself. I also don't blame Israel for drawing a line in the sand and saying, enough. We're taking out Hamas. We did a lot of damage to Hezbollah, and we know that they're getting funded by Iran, so let's just go to the source. I don't have a problem with Israel defending itself. I really don't. My strong preference would be everyone in the region learn to coexist and learn that they could be a hell of a lot stronger together than opposed to each other. Peace needs to prevail. Melissa, I hope I answered your question about why it seems that Israel attacked Iran first. Again, as I understand it, Israel has been being attacked for many, many, many years by Iran through proxies. Does Iran have nuclear capability? Yeah, we were told that Iraq was making weapons of mass destruction and never found any evidence that that was true. I think that was just the government of the day really, really, really wanted to bomb Iraq. That turned into a very, very long and costly war for America. And I don't want to see them go through that again. And I definitely don't want us to get dragged into that either, especially because of who it is. Iran is well connected. They've got allies. And if their allies decide to back them and we end up on the side, well, I don't know which side we end up on in Canada, to be honest with you, but the Americans and the Israelis would be aligned. If there's an attack on America, I assume America is going to invoke the NATO clauses that would require NATO to respond. Then we're into a world war. Nobody wants that. Cooler heads, please prevail. Let's hope for peace. Let's get a deal done here, as President Trump said, and let's try and get back to normal and get everybody going in the right direction again, because the way this is going down, it's extremely unsettling for a lot of people. Friends, I've went way over, and I apologize for that. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I hope you will be back here tomorrow for the Listener DMs episode. If I said something wrong, call me out. It didn't come from a bad place. You know I strive for accuracy in this pod. If I said something wrong, call me out. If there's a question you have, bring it. You want to talk about something? Is there something I'm not talking about enough? You go ahead and weigh in. We will have your DMs tomorrow. In the meantime, I will leave you with the sounds of Pat James and the whole truth. Hey now, have a great day. Oh.